And I'm especially happy to realize that you are all very sincere, because I think I have been here enough times and I've met many of you, and today being the full moon day, I have had the opportunity of very deep Dhamma discussion with the group of Upasikas, observing the 8 precepts. So I come to realize that you do understand a lot about the Dhamma, and I'm especially happy to see that you seem to realize the importance of coming together as fellow spiritual aspirants. In other words, the importance of spiritual fellowship. I think this importance is emphasized not only in Buddhism, but in every other great religions of the world, in Christianity, in Islam, and so on. And certainly, it is in the Indian tradition, especially in the Buddhist tradition. In Buddhism, this spiritual fellowship is called Kalyana Mittata. Now, to appreciate the importance attached to this Kalyana Mittata by the Buddha himself, let us look at the following dialogue between Ananda, the attendant monk on the Buddha for 35 years until the Parinibbana of the Buddha, and the Buddha himself. One day, Ananda, as usual, was attending on the Buddha very closely, and it seemed as if suddenly he was inspired to make an exclamation. He says to the Buddha, "O Lord, I know that spiritual fellowship is half the spiritual life. Kalyana Mittata is half the spiritual life." Ananda thought that he had made a very strong statement indeed, and he was very confident of the Buddha's approval. But instead of endorsing this statement, this exclamation from Ananda, the Buddha said, "Ananda, say not so. The spiritual life, the spiritual fellowship is not half the spiritual life, it is the whole of the spiritual life." So here you can see how important spiritual fellowship is in Buddhism, how important it is from a Buddhist standpoint. And it is because of this, or partly because of this, that even for those who have got the monastic ordination, the bhikkhus in the olden days, also the bhikkhunis and so on, have been expected to live together as a community. The very word Sangha itself means a community. This is because the Buddha sees that spiritual striving can only be successful in the context of such a communal living, of such a spiritual community, in the context of such spiritual fellowship. And this applies certainly not only to the monks and the nuns in those days, but also to all of you, to everyone who is serious about making progress on the spiritual path. Now we can understand ourselves why it is so important. Perhaps in this short talk tonight, we have no time to go into deep detail, but at least we can explore the significance a little bit. First of all, we know that we have to admit that the spiritual journey is very rugged indeed, very difficult indeed. In fact, I would say that the more sincere you are, the more committed you are, the more you will realize the difficulty. Sometimes it is as if the more effort you have put into the practice, the more you have to confront with your own raga, dosa, moha, your own craving, hatred and ignorance. Sometimes quite in spite of your will, you commit akusala or unskillful actions in body or speech and mind. So much so that we can say that this is in fact a human tragedy. And it's because of this that we have to suffer. Because of this that we have dukkha in our faring. So, given this, moral support, mutual encouragement is extremely important. Sometimes it is so bad that you have slipped down so badly that it's hardly possible for you to get up yourself to walk on. So at these times, you need the encouragement, you need the help, you need the assistance of your fellow wayfarers. I think you can experience this yourself. Sometimes, in a very simple situation, you might think of coming to say, join the SEAL campaign, to join the observance of the precepts, or to do meditation in the class. But then you have other pulls pulling you away from it. Or sometimes you may be so depressed that you don't know what you're going to do with your spiritual life. You might think that, well, this is not for me. It was, and I found something there, but no more now. You might have had that kind of feeling. But at such moments, when your friends come along, when they pull you away from this, when they take you to the meditation class, to the temple, then you feel that again you have your strength. Again you can stand up. Again you can face the difficulties. And this is a very, very common experience for every one of us. According to Buddhism, this craving, hatred, and ignorance, in fact, is not only within all of us as ordinary beings. Even in the case of the so-called Aryas, what we will call the saints in Buddhism, the saints, that is to say, of the first two stages, the early stages of saint, if you like, for simplicity, you will still find certain amount of these so-called three cankers. You will still find them there. The only thing is that they are in a kind of diluted form. So, therefore, you can appreciate the difficulty in human struggling, and hence the importance of the support of fellow wayfarers. Like today, you come here, you feel that your faith is reinforced, your confidence is reinforced by the presence of others. Imagine you were to come alone. Imagine you were the only person taking seal, the only person listening to Dhamma talk. You might be able to persist for 1, 2, 3 times. I think it would be very difficult to keep on coming alone, to keep on making effort alone in this way. One might remark that I'm perhaps labeling the point. It's very obvious, but it doesn't seem so. I'm talking not just about a social gathering, not just about coming together because my friends are also coming together, but coming together for the purpose, none other than trying to develop, trying to grow, trying to make spiritual progress. There is another important reason why spiritual fellowship is important. I think this can be understood in terms of psychology. I think we can understand that within everybody there are potential goodness, there are virtues.
After all, who is the Buddha? The Buddha is simply the human being who is perfected. The Buddha is simply the human being who has all the innate virtues, love, compassion, fearlessness, purity, etc., etc., raised to the highest point, fully unfolded. And when we say that we can all become Buddha, or we are potentially Buddha, we mean that we all admit, we all accept the existence of all these innate good qualities, and that we have to strive to unfold these qualities. However, these qualities are unfolded or are developed to different degrees in different individuals. And sometimes certain quality is more developed in some and others more developed in others. For instance, you come across friends, spiritual friends, who are more kind than you, who are more forgiving than you. You feel so inspired when you see the examples of forgiving others. And also you come across others who are more wise, who have more wisdom and insight than you, or who are more pure in virtues than you. Now, when we interact like this, what is happening? We can say that there is as it were, a sparkling off process. You see a particular virtue which is within you and which is also within that person, but then it is more brought out in that person, and seeing this, coming face to face with this, you are sparked off within. And your particular virtue, that particular virtue within you, also begins to grow. This is very important. I think in psychology, they also recognize that in the case of the children, some children, apparently for no reasons, for no obvious reasons, admire certain adults very much. Sometimes we find it very difficult to understand. Now, one psychological interpretation is that this is the recognition of the child of certain qualities of the adult, which is developed in that adult but not yet in him, and yet it is potentially within him. So it's because of this fact that he begins to admire his own virtue, which he sees more developed in the adult. So it is in this manner that we benefit by interacting with each other. Really, in that sense, everybody can be a kalanimitta to every other. Because, as I said, everybody has got something more developed than others. We can all help each other spiritually in this way. We can all encourage, we can all spark of each other. So in this way, we can understand the importance of spiritual fellowship. We can understand that we can all be mutually spiritual friends. Sometimes this word kalanimitta is used in the sense of a teacher, a guru. That is true. That, if you like, is the spiritual friend per se. That is the spiritual friend in the highest sense. One who can truly guide you, who is more experienced than you, who has got more insight than you. But you can have also spiritual friends who are wayfarers, like all of you, fellow wayfarers, which may be compared to fellow beings on the same boat trying to cross over to the other shore. You're all on the same boat. You're trying to reach the same destination. You're all going to face the same difficulties, perhaps the same problems of storms and so on. So what you have got to do is to mutually support each other, to mutually encourage each other on this journey. So I hope that although this is meant to be a very short talk, I was told to talk for about 25 minutes or 30 minutes. I hope that I have made at least one point tonight, the point of the importance of coming together as spiritual fellow wayfarers, to make use of this. You don't come, as I said, just as a social gathering. We must do it with mindfulness. We must be aware of the importance of this interaction with others. So in this way, we not only can get rid of our pride. Some people think that I'm more senior, I've been more advanced, I've come along more, I've read more Dhamma books, and therefore perhaps I don't need so much of what this Reverend has been talking about as spiritual fellowship, interaction. But no, everybody needs it. Literally everybody. Everybody will benefit from it. However good the person is, she may have some negative aspects. However spiritually immature another person is, he again, she again may have some good qualities too. So not only can we get rid of this type of, if you like, spiritual pride, but also with this awareness, we can kind of transform the situation, like in every other cases, like in giving a dana, like in practicing other things in Buddhism. We can transform it from a mundane, apparently superficial gathering, chatting, saying hello, into a profoundly spiritually significant interaction in terms of spiritual fellowship. Thank you.
Chief Venerable Sir and other Venerables, dear devout friends, unfortunately I have got a sore throat today. Therefore, though I am interested in talking to you some more than 10 minutes as Venerable Chief Venerable suggested just now, I would stop within about 5 minutes, wishing you a happy evening, a happy life, with the meritorious thoughts accumulated both by Venerables as well as devotees. When Venerable Dhamma Jothi was speaking on good friendship, spiritual fellowship, it occurred in my mind another symbolic expression of the importance of lotus flower. So I just add another point there, just to remind you all the importance of getting examples from such natural resources like a lotus flower. Though we have suffering, though we have hardships, though we have sicknesses, we don't need to just fall down before them. We don't need to suffer from suffering, so to say. Buddha showed us the way out of suffering. He showed us the middle way, and if we follow it, as we all do, little by little, we find the way within this lifetime itself how to stand upright with, as the Venerable Dhamma Jothi mentioned, spiritual fellowship, good friendship, in the real sense of the word metta, you all know. Friendship, true friendship is the meaning of metta, loving kindness. So this example which we can get from the flower lotus, as Buddha appreciated, is that we can stand upright, we can maintain our happiness even we are sick, even when we have various hardships in life. I just stress the word sickness because I am sick now. Little. Actually, as Buddha would say, no matter though your body is sick, don't let your mind become sick. So that is how we can overcome sickness. Normally, we try to double our sicknesses, adding something from our mind. So if we don't add anything from our mind to double the sicknesses and to triple it, there we are successful and we have overcome at least partly. So the example from the lotus is similar to what I said now, connected to overcoming sicknesses. As you all know, the lotus flower grows in the mud. It comes out of the surface of water level and it blooms beautifully, beautifying the surrounding without getting smeared by water. Bees and other insects benefit from it, taking nectar and so on. It doesn't vanish from the pond or lake, though water is muddy, or mud is there, or water is smelling. It will bloom beautifully, even beautifying the surrounding. Buddha says, even human beings can take examples from this flower to stand upright, even society is troublesome. Among hardships, troubles, sicknesses, whatsoever, we can beautify whole society through, as the Venerable Dhamma Jothi stressed, through spiritual fellowship. We can stand upright before conflicts without falling down before conflicts or hardships. If we can make our mind healthy, if we can stand with fellowship, spiritual fellowship, good understanding, to help others without expectation anything in return, not even a single thank. That attitude, if you can develop little by little, that is where we have got some examples from the flower lotus. And we can stand, as I repeated, upright with this spiritual fellowship, and we can render our services for the good of ourselves as well as others. And that development is along the line of the middle way, as Buddha taught. So may you be well and happy with these Dhamma explanations, and also with the blessings of the Venerables and all the meritorious thoughts that you accumulated by participating in Dhamma discussions, Dhamma listening, and observing 8 precepts and so on. May you be well and happy. May you all attain Nibbana someday.
I think still got time, because these two reverends have given mini sermons. Full moon and new moon days are regarded as religious days or holy days. In many Buddhist countries, even today, is a public holiday. So they had this tradition for a few thousand years. Only after the colonial occupation, during that period, they introduced Sunday as a public holiday. Formerly, every full moon day, every new moon day, and 2 quarter moons. That means every week, regarded as religious days or holy days, for people to be more religious. That is the main idea, not to enjoy their life, run here and there, But to be calm, to be good, concentrate peacefully, relax, that is the meaning of holiday. So, you sponsored this full moon and new moon days to contribute something to conduct this religious service. And you have various purposes, motive. Some people like to sponsor in memory of their departed ones, to remember them, to transfer the merit, to show their gratitude towards their departed father, mother, husbands and children, anybody. Again, some people are sponsored to remember their birthday or wedding anniversary or some other auspicious occasion. Some other devotees observe or undertake to contribute something as their contribution to gain more merits. We need merits because we have not completed our journey. A long way for us to go. This we can understand when we introspect, analyze the nature of our own mind. We can understand our own weaknesses. Still we have a lot of human weaknesses. See, still we maintain very strong egoistic ideas, pride and craze for so many things. We go mad when we see certain things. And our jealousy, our enmity, intolerance, all these are our weaknesses. So how can we go and enjoy our eternal life either in heaven or paradise or nirvana by keeping all this rubbish? We cannot carry this dustbin to heaven or nirvana. People come and pray and worship and do some offering. Anyone can do that, no difficulty. You can pay 100 times a day, thinking you can go to heaven very easily by keeping all the rubbish in your mind. There is no religious value in this kind of prayers or worship. That is what we have to realize, our own weaknesses. Don't try to justify our weaknesses. You must be careful, I am hot-tempered. There are people, instead of mentioning others, this is my weakness. My anger can flare up at any moment. I have difficulty of controlling it. But they are proud to say, I am hot-tempered. Why not they say, I am very jealous? They don't want to say that. All these are our weaknesses. Slowly we had to get rid of these things. We can understand the difficulties we had to come across when we are going to reduce all these weaknesses. So the perfection, sainthood, attainment of Nibbanic bliss, we never gain unless we completely purify all our mental defilements, mental impurities. So, every day we are learning, we are practicing, we are trying to be good, but always become a failure when suddenly our craving or jealousy or anger flare up, we have no courage to control our own mind. It is a failure. Then we say something very dirty, wicked things to hurt, disturb others. We do certain things to disturb others, to harm others. Then we continue again our enmity, jealousy, grudge. So every minute we create mental impurities as long as we maintain these evil forces in the mind. So the main purpose of a religion actually is not just to come and pray and worship. Anyone can do that. Very easy, very cheap. But it is not so easy for us to be good, my dear friend. Every time you observe 5 religious principles as your precept, among those 5, how many precepts can you observe without violating, without breaking? Then how can you go further and further? Because this is the initial stage. To start our religious way of life, first we had to establish by observing these precepts as basis. Then we can develop. See, the Buddha has introduced this religious way of life systematically, practical way, not as a theory or philosophy or a belief. It is Sila, Samadhi, Panya. These are the 3 bases. It is Sila, Samadhi, Panya. These are the 3 bases. First we have to establish, cultivate Sila, our discipline, our behavior, our moral conduct. Without doing this, we can learn everything, we can pray and worship, no value. Then come to the second stage, Samadhi. By realizing the weaknesses in our mind, and we try to calm, to discipline the mind, to train the mind, to purify the mind by eradicating all these things one after the other, one after the other. That is the second stage, mental purity. After that, we gain Panya. That is called the supreme wisdom or the enlightenment. Then complete liberation takes place after that. By fulfilling only one of these 3 things, you won't get it. You have to complete all these 3 stages. So in our life, there are 3 stages. Please remember this. From our birth up to our last breath, 1 stage. And during this period, while we are living here, if we know how to maintain satisfaction, contentment, happiness in our life, then that life never become a failure. It does not mean by indulging, enjoying in worldly way, by leading a worldly life, there is no happiness there. Happiness arises in the mind when we come to know that we have no guilty feeling in our mind, we have not harmed others, and we have not bluffed others. This is more than enough. If we can maintain this, then happiness remains there in our mind. Then we can die peacefully, without fear. Because we know, after our death, if there is another life hereafter, that existence never become a miserable one. That is why we are not scared to die. We can die with confidence, with peaceful mind. After that, another life will be originated. Nobody knows where it is. It depends on our activities, what we have committed. By using our mind, by using our words, by using our physical body. All these actions are responsible. You can maintain all sort of imaginations, belief, faith in your mind. These things have no value at all, only belief. But the thing that you develop in your mind has good thoughts and bad thoughts. The words that you utter has good words and bad words. The thing that you have done as the action, has good action and bad action. These things are responsible for your next life. You can believe anything, it doesn't work. So the next life never become a miserable one if you know how to maintain satisfaction, peace and happiness in our mind. That is the second stage. So the next life also become a fortunate one for us to continue to carry on our respectable way of life without adopting any means attitude. Then the last one. Because many people believe after their death they will be landed either in heaven or paradise or somewhere else where they can enjoy eternal or permanent, everlasting happiness. This belief is depend on craving. Craving is the main cause to create such belief, that we want a permanent place to go and enjoy our life. But people cannot understand that it is a dream. We have to go further. So that second stage is not the final goal. Still we have mental defilements in our mind. Whether rebirth take place in heaven or paradise or Brahma world or anywhere else. Still certain ingredients are there. Then we develop further and further. That is called complete perfection, complete purity, supreme wisdom, enlightenment. That is the last stage. So these are the three stages in our life. This life, hereafter, and the final goal. So religion paves the way, teaches us how to get into this correct path without allowing us to get into the unfortunate state. So that is the meaning of the Dhamma. Dhamma means that which support us, hold us, help us to continue our noble way of life without allowing us to get into difficulties and sufferings and unfortunate state. Since the Buddha has revealed this path, the Buddha's teaching is called Dhamma. This is the meaning of Dhamma. I think these few words are enough. So all those sponsors and the devotees and the participants of this full moon day celebrations accrued lot of merits by offerings and reciting and listening the Dhamma by the virtues of all these merits. So may you have a very peaceful, happy, contented life, and also hereafter, and one day we will be able to find out the aim of our life. Thank you, sir.
Buddha puja paratvimin dharma sravane kirimin daham pandaru puja kirimin labana labdahu sakala kusala punya sambhara dharmayo tumu pratama kota loka sanrakshane karannahu Indropendra Chandrasekhara Prajapatyadi Samasta Amarendrayan Visinnanumodan Manulabatva Pratama Punyanumodanavin Adhikatar Chitta Santosa Bhaveta Paminiyavu Ema Deviyange Devanubhava Balayenhasu Imat Buddhadi Ratnatrayanubhava balayada karana kotagena me badu nisala bala kusala kami sakala shraddhavanta satpurusadinta iha atma bhavasain vannavo sakalantaraya sarvo badravayan hirudutu ganadurakseen vihata vidvangsanaya karanu labatva tavada me pinvatunge namin නැසීමිය පරලොව ගියා වූ මව්පිය ගුරුවරාදී යම් කිසි ඥාතිවරයෙක් පින් බලාපොරොත්තු වන අභව්‍ය ස්ථාන දුක්ඛයකට පැමිණ කර්මප්‍රත්‍ය වශයෙන් දුක් අනුභව කෙරෙත්නම් මෙම පින් අනුමෝදන් වීමෙන් එයින් මිදී සුගති ස්වර්ග සංඛ්‍යාත යහපත් දිව්‍ය සම්පත්තියටද පැමිණෙත්වා මේ සෑම දෙනමත් මෙතෙන් පටන් පරම රමණීය වූ තුන් නිවන් සිරි ලබනා තාක්කල් තුරා අවීචි ලෝකාන්තරිකාදී අතර නොපැතිර නිතර දුක් දෙන සතර අපායෝත්පත්ති දුකකට කිසිම කාලයකවත් නොපැමිණ මේ මනුෂ්‍ය ලෝකයට වඩා අග්‍ර පැවතුම් ඇති චාතුරු මහාරාධිකාදී සදිව්‍ය ලෝකයන්හි විවිධ විචිත්‍ර චිත්‍ර කර්මාන්තෝජ්වලිත නීකමාලකෝප සෝභිත සුන්දරතර ස්වර්ණමණි මන්දිරාදීෙහි ධීර වීර වික්‍රමාන්විත වූ සක්‍රාදී සියලුම සදිව්‍ය ශ්‍රී සම්පත් වළඳා නැවත මේ මිනිස් ලොව උපදනා කල්හි නොපිරිහෙන ලද්දා වූ සියලුම භව භෝග යස ඉසුරු ධන සේනා සම්පත් ආදිය ලදින් ලද සම්පත් කෙරෙහි කිසිත් මසුරු චේතනාවක් නොමැතිව දාන ආදී නොයෙකුත් සුචරිත ධර්මයන් පුරුදු පුහුණු කරමින් සසර සැරිසරා වාසය කරන කල්හි ඉසුරු බර කරන කොටගෙන සුරපුරින් බට භාගයක් මෙන් බබලන පරම රමණීය වූ කේතුමති නම් උත්තම රාජධානියෙහි සංජාතව නාගශ්‍රී බෝධින්ද්‍රම රාජයා කරායි ලැබ සපරිවාර මාර පරාජය කොට ලෝතුරා බුද්ධ රාජ්‍යයට පැමිණ වදාරනු ලබන්නා වූ කල්යාණ මිත්‍ර මෛත්‍රේය බුදුරජාණන් වහන්සේ දැකීමෙන් හා උන්වහන්සේ විසින් සකල ජන හෘදයානන්ද කොට අපරිමිත සර්වඥ ගුණ බහා මුළු ලොව ප්‍රකම්පිත කරවමින් දේශනා කර වදාරනු ලබන්නා වූ දුක්ඛ සමුදය නිරෝධ මාර්ග සංඛ්‍යාත චතුරතර චතුරාර්ය සත්‍ය මිහිරි ශ්‍රී සද්ධර්ම දේශනාවත්තසා එම දේශනාවසානයෙහි සෝවාන් සකෘදාගාමි අනාගාමි අරහත් ඥාන සතර මග සතර ඵලයන්ට පැමිණීමෙන් කෙළවර නිත්‍ය මංගල පරම සුන්දර අතිසාන්ත සුඛ ප්‍රණීත ප්‍රවරතර අංග උතුම් අමෘත මහා නිර්වාණ සම්පත් ලබන්ත මෙම පුණ්‍ය කර්මයෙහි නියුක්ත දායක කාරකාදී මේ සියලු දෙනාටම හේතු වාසනා වේවයි සිතා චිත්ත ප්‍රීතියෙන් යුක්තව සාදරයෙන් පින් අනුමෝදන් විය